What is happening, you guys? Welcome back to a Let's Go Win podcast here for a Tuesday tune up. And it looks like actually uh, my guest was slow to arrive. So I'm just going to keep rolling. I apologize for that. Um, I want to talk about leadership in today's world. And a big part of leadership is leading by example. And the person I want to talk about, I'm a little thrown off just because my grandmother passed away today. Now, she was 100 years old. And this was a woman that led her family, and she did so quietly. She was never the really loud leader. She was never the one that's saying, "Hey, look at me, look at me." She was always quiet, and she went about her business, and she really led by example. And so I really broke it down into three parts. She was this woman that led by example. Now, my grandfather was more of the old school. He was more of the take charge, very vocal, do what I say. And my grandmother was always really kind of quiet. And it was never what she said, but more just the actions. And I remember as a kid, she was able to get me to do so many things that maybe I didn't I didn't want to do as a kid, but she never raised her voice. She never spanked me, even though I don't think she was opposed to it. She literally was able to do it just by, being a good leader, leading by example. And I think this is something that's kind of been lost in this idea that leaders have to be really vocal and they have to be almost braggadocious and loud, and that's just not the case at all with her. And she was remarkable in the fact that her word was her bond. What she said she was going to do, she followed through with, and she really led by example. The second thing I she was always smiling. Now, I think is remarkable. She lived to 100 now. I met her, I guess she would have been 55 years old when she met me. I'm 45 today. And she literally, the woman never aged, at least for about 30 to 35 years. I mean, she literally didn't age. And I often say, okay, maybe she ate super clean. No, it was good. She ate whole foods and, she didn't really drink, she didn't smoke. But what I remember about her is she was always happy, she was always smiling. And why do I talk about that with leadership? I think there's a lot to be said for this, where I'm sure she had bad days. I know my grandfather. I know what a terror, I was as a grandchild at times. And I don't ever remember her really being out of sorts. And I know my grandfather, he was not an easy man necessarily to please. And yet, she was always happy, always smiling. No matter how upset my grandpa Don made her, she would always respond kindly, "Oh dear, oh dearie," and yet she would move forward. And so when I think about longevity, I think about being happy, I think about leadership. There's a lot to be said for just smiling, saying a kind word to whomever you're around. And she did that 100%. The last thing that I wrote down, I have so many stories about this woman, but I wanted to really tie it back to leadership. And again, you're not going to have this where she, planted her flag in the ground and said, "This is where we're going." She was always just so steady and even keel. And no matter what was happening, we were going to figure it out. But the other thing that she never did, I never once heard her say a bad thing about another human being. So again, she's human. I'm sure she had people that wronged her, that didn't see right by her, but she never talked badly about someone behind their back. In fact, I don't remember her ever having a cross word with someone, even if they were, she wasn't seeing eye to eye. She always found the good in people. And again, if we look at it and we're saying, look, I want to live my best life. I want to live to 100. I want to be able to be active. And she was remarkable. She literally was she had her iPad and she would play her brain games, and she was more technologically advanced than I am today at 100 years old. That tells me she had a growth mindset. She didn't just sit back and say, "Well, I'm not of the generation of the computer generation, so I don't do this." No, she jumped in. She got her iPad and she would FaceTime, and she that's what was how she kept in touch with her kids and her grandkids and her great grandkids ultimately, is that she was able to really adapt to what this world is, the fast moving place. So you think about it, 100 years ago, 1923. So she went through, the World War II. She certainly watched that happen. She watched the whole world change, and yet she still adapted. So I just want to break this down. So she led by example. She was always happy and smiling, and she never talked badly about anyone. Man, could we use that in leadership today, whether it's politics or it's in business. This woman was such a great example of what we are capable of doing and what that yielded for her, which was ultimately a really fulfilling, happy life. She didn't age. She continued to be active and walking through age 100, and it's because I think she wasn't really stressed out. She didn't take life too seriously. And she decided that no matter what, I'm going to be true to who I am, which is happy. So I hope you guys appreciate this. Again, I had another guest I was hoping to have on, but I had an opportunity to talk about my grandmother because, she passed away today. And I'm sad, of course. I wish she's here, but at the same time, I wanted to really just, say thank you, Grandma Jenny. Her name is Virginia. Thank you for being such a leader, to teaching us so many great examples. Again, not loudly, not from a I'm going to be the one that's always so, she was not an introvert, but she wasn't super extroverted either, but she always led by example. She was always happy and smiling, and she never said a bad word about anyone. If we could all take a page out of her book and live that life, live that happy, fulfilled life, maybe we all get to 100. Maybe we all can be able to be learning new things in our 10th decade and literally FaceTiming with our future grandkids. So anyway, this is a shout out to my grandma. I love you. I know you're now back with my dad and with my grandpa, your husband, up in heaven, and I miss you, but yet at the same time, I'm 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 happy for you. So thank you for all that you ever did and taught me, and really not realizing that how much you showed me what it means to be a leader. So you guys, I would love to hear someone that really showed you leadership, someone that maybe you didn't think of as a leader in the moment, but when you reflected on your time with them, how they showed up, how they showed their strength. I'd love to hear about that. So the best place is really to hit me up at Instagram at Let's Go Win 365 and share who's a leader that really showed you the way. Because I'd love to converse with you on it and share your stories, and share this with somebody that you're thinking about, someone that maybe you don't stay in touch with your grandparents or your parents as much as you should, but you know what? Thank you for showing the way, like my grandma Jenny did. So thank you, Grandma Jenny. I love you and appreciate all you guys. Until next time, remember your mindset matters. I appreciate you all so much.